A lot of demon and devil speak in the past few episodes, but hey, let's get down to it, shall we? Welcome back to another episode of Waterdeep Dragon Heist to DM's Guide. My name is Jake Anslow, and today we're talking about the second of the four primary villains that your players will be coming across in this campaign. The little stupid little bitches known as the Cassalanters. The Cassalanters are the only real I could attribute to them being somewhat moral humanoids. In comparison to Manshoon and Jarlaxle, their motives seem the most just? Not really, but I can see where they're coming from in comparison to the Xanathar who just wants the money. For this set of four villains, I definitely recommend watching each of the videos in this series to decide which villain suits you and which ones that you want to throw at your party and make them cry at when they see them. So, of the four villains, the Cassalanters, in terms of like stats, are the weakest. They are a bit worse spellcasters than Manshoon. They don't have legendary actions like Jarlaxle or the Xanathar, and they don't have as many forces at their disposal. However, of all of them, a Cassalanter's forces could definitely go unnoticed. They are, other than maybe, well, all the villains are very, very smart, but the Cassalanters have a lot of experience under their belt as well, and can be a very scary thing. The Cassalanters are a couple. They are a very prestigious royal family, Victorio and Amalia. Amalia being, I believe, a wizard, and Victorio a very powerful cleric who has access to the 8th level spell Earthquake, which, in terms of combat, doesn't do much, but in my game, a player had hired an assassin to go and kill Amalia, and after doing so, Victorio unleashed an earthquake that destroyed part of the city in an attempt to get the murderer before they managed to run away. And these people, let's go into the more sketchy side of them, they're devil worshippers. And these people weren't originally as rich as they are now. They don't really do much work. And the reason that they don't is because they made a lovely, lovely deal with Archdevil Asmodeus. Asmodeus being, in the lore, the most powerful archdevil. If you want to make a dark deal with him, sign your soul or someone else's soul off to him in exchange for material wealth, riches, power. They chose the power option, which gave them material wealth, riches, and high status among Waterdeep. And they're very thankful for it, and they worship him. The thing that they exchanged for it was their son's soul, who now is a chained devil. And the party can encounter this son and fight them. Might be quite difficult to fight them if you're running the campaign from levels 1 to 5. Well, Dragon Heist is a bit interesting because it technically goes from levels 1 to 5, but from there the parties can properly delve into fighting the four villains, and instead of just going in and out of the layers, raiding them, pillaging them, ultimately on a quest to defeat the guy, because they can bring allies in that will definitely help. The Cassalanters have a bit of a different strategy to the rest of the villains. They really like their noble status and don't really want that to go away. So they try and make it as, like, unobvious as possible that they're the ones doing the sketchy stuff. Jarlaxle is being pretty open about the fact that he has a big plan going on, but nobody knows it's him, nobody knows where it is or what he's doing, thanks to the use of various disguises that he puts on his ships and himself and his crewmates. The Xanathar and Manshoon are very well known. The Xanathar is infamous in Waterdeep, and everyone knows that there's a beholder under the city. No one knows who Manshoon is, but they certainly know the Zhentarim, and know that the Xanathar Guild and Zhentarim are at each other's throats. The Cassalanters, they're just a nice noble family. Nobody really knows what they do, but nobody really cares, so they get off lucky. If you choose the Cassalanters, the adventure takes place in the summer, technically. Often downtime can get in the way of that though, so be prepared for it to change. So that's enough of me reading out of the book and telling you what's in there. I'm going to tell you how to run these. The Cassalanters should not really make themselves obvious. They are not really, in comparison to the rest of the villains, unless you're choosing them as your primary villain, people probably shouldn't be able to piece together the Cassalanters are who they are. They certainly might see a devil or two and maybe fight them. They don't know who that devil was. They don't know who they worked for. They don't know where they are. Why was there a devil in Waterdeep? That's because they're under the employ of the Cassalanters, who have demons and devils. Demons and devils are very different things. I've probably triggered a bunch of people in the comments just from saying that. They have a lot of interesting characters at their disposal, and often will use devils to operate instead of people, because people have weak wills. Devils can definitely be trusted to not spill the beans in comparison to their demon counterparts. They're definitely scummy, but they made a deal, and they're there. She has the two have some very interesting stuff going on. Bearded devils will tuck the beards under big suits and put big hats on and kind of carts. They'll deliver carts across Waterdeep as kind of like a disguise and a way to get through places together, like undercover, before unleashing spine devils on their enemies and quickly killing and leaving. I actually used this on my players. They had raided Trollskull Manor and none of them had survived, and the remnants of their cart were stood outside and the rest of their suit. The only reason they actually managed to track it down to the Cassalanters was because one player's backstory is directly tied to the family. So that's kind of an interesting way to lace in a bit of understanding if you want to drop a few hints that it is the Cassalanters. My party very much knows that it is now, when the ravens burst into imps and started stabbing them when they invaded the house. Speaking of the house, they have a lovely villa in the Sea Ward, which is the richest ward, obviously. It's several storied, heavily guarded by both people and bearded devils, as well as other various devils positioned in locations. These devils should certainly move about the house. I'm not sure if it specifically says in the book that creatures are moving in and out, but there should definitely be a patrol change every hour or so that if the party decides to take a short rest in the house, they run the risk of perhaps being walked in on. It's a very, very interesting dungeon, if you will, because it very much acts like a dungeon for at least the first and second part especially. But it's a house, it's just a manor, and genuinely, if the party was going in there with no pretense of any sort of suspicion, they could just be walking around daintily, seeing everything that there is to see. Wouldn't really have anything too suspicious to look at. The Cassalanters are smart, they know what they're doing, and they have a cover-up. Pretty much all of the villains' layers have some level of a cover-up, except maybe the Xanathar Guild. If you walk in there, you know what you're getting into, whereas if you walk onto Jarlaxle's ship, you're on a ship. Cool. If you walk into Manshoon's towers, we're in a weird set of wizard towers. I didn't think there were people in here. Okay, well I guess that's that. It's quite interesting, and the Cassalanters especially, they have people moving around in it. Normal people. Just regular people guards. Like, it's very interesting. I like it. Now, I haven't actually ran this dungeon myself, but I can certainly imagine that the Cassalanters are very vengeful. They're passionate about this because they want the cache of money so that they can give it to Asmodeus and hope that they get their son Sol back and still manage to retain their power. And they're probably the most emotionally charged about it. They want this. And if the party are getting in their way too much, it might become a little bit more of a direct thing. Certainly don't send Victoro to go kill them. That's a very bad idea, and he will do so. He will kill them very well. At least maybe like until they get level 5, where they might get a few lucky hits on him and he might go down. He's powerful, but he's not exactly an amazing cleric. AC 15, 100 health for a CR 10 guy. He does, however, have a Rod of Rulership, which is a rare rod that lets you charm a buttload of people for 8 hours. It's cool. He also has Divine Word, which on a low-level party could very much screw them over. So I wouldn't recommend doing that too much. He has a lot of early level spells, which is actually quite interesting to look at. He has Charm Person, Command, Detect Magic, Disguise Self, Protection from Evil and Good, Sanctuary, Augury, Lesser Restoration, Mirror Image, Pass Without Trace, Spiritual Weapon. That was just first and second. This dude's ready. Amalia a bit less so. She's certainly a bit more on the destructive side. She has Fireball, Haste, Confusion, Hold Monster, and Magic Missile and Mage Armor to boot. Other than that, not as good. Pretty standard wizard. You've got a lot of wizards walking around in Dragon Heist. I'm a huge fan of the Cassalanters. They have been, other than maybe Jarlaxle, a very dominant presence in my party's playthrough of this game. And no doubt are they going to continue to be a massive nuisance as devils just hound them constantly. And the party doesn't really have too many ways to prove it. Sad times. Cassalanters need to be played smart, as all of the villains in this really do. But you can certainly weasel through a few little things. Victoria's a cleric. He has access to, and it's not on his prepared spell list, but if you run it like that, he could certainly prepare Raise Dead or Resurrection and revive Amalia, which might have happened in my campaign. Who knows? Laura's sitting next to me, and I don't want to spoil something like that. But he has the potential to, if that's the way that you rule it. Get creative with the Cassalanters. I want to see people do very different things with them, because they're a married couple. There's certainly a dynamic to be had. They're both pretty posh, up their arse pricks, basically. Victoria being a half-elf and Amalia being a human, and both in a very privileged life. And they have 2 lovely kids who they probably treasure very much and could be used by the party to do some very bad things. There's a lot of things that the party can do with the Cassalanters, so definitely be prepared for all of the possibilities that come with that. Thank you for watching Magical Tea Party, where I keep talking. I don't stop talking. The next one in this series will be about Jarlaxle, my personal favourite out of all the villains. I don't know if I've said that any others are my favourite. Jarlaxle's my favourite. He's so cool. He's so cool. And he's probably like one of the only villains that could actually really hold their own throughout maybe the entire campaign in comparison to all the others. He has about 6 magic items as well, I think, at least. Oh, way more. He's decked out. And he's also very solidified in the lore. I'll fanboy about him more in the next video, which I hope you watch. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. We are really chugging along with these videos, and the reception has been bloody brilliant, so thank you for that. At the time of recording, because this is maybe, God, so many weeks in advance to when you're seeing this now, at least 10. Maybe. We're at 56 subscribers, which is mental. Very consistent growth as well. I've had YouTube channels that were like, oh, I got 200 subscribers because I got one popular video, but it's so satisfying to watch things actually just go up at a nice rate. It's sweet. Thank you for watching, for as long as some of you do to be at the end here. Au revoir.